It's one of those things, but it was a long time ago. Please.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. I want to thank in particular one person I don't think has been mentioned so far, and that's Rod Wilson from the Foundation for California, who has been the driving force in organizing and putting this event together, and I do think he deserves recognition for that. I'd also I'd like to recognize, I know it's already been a little bit, I think anyone who's here, we have several survivors here, anyone who was a survivor, anyone here who was a liberator, anyone here who took up arms to resist the Nazis, if you are willing to stand, if you are be acknowledged. If you, please. Please. Okay. Thank you. When thinking about this exhibit and the need for this exhibit, I'm sometimes asked, why remember the Holocaust? There were many genocides, far too many genocides in the 20th century and now into the 21st. What is so special about this genocide? Why remember this one? And as an historian, what stands out about the Holocaust, what is distinctive about it among the genocides of the 20th century, is that it was and remains the only global genocide. And it was global in two ways. It was global in reach. The Nazis intended the genocide to be around the world. It wasn't, while most of their efforts were in Europe, which is the area under their military control, it extended to the islands of the Mediterranean, it extended to North Africa, it extended into the Middle East through their allies, including the Farhud pogrom in Baghdad, and it extended as far as China, where the Germans put pressure on the Japanese to create a ghetto in Shanghai. The reach of the Holocaust was truly global in geographic terms. It was also global in terms of population. Whereas most genocides target one single victim group, what makes the Holocaust different is the Nazis intended to apply their racial and social policies to everyone on Earth. There were certain people marked for immediate extermination, namely the Jews and the Roma, or Gypsies. There were also people marked for long-term extermination, such as the Poles. Within the so-called Aryan population, the disabled were marked for immediate extermination or sterilization. And of course, gay men, Jehovah's Witnesses, political opponents were enslaved. The Nazis intended to apply their racial classifications to everyone on Earth. And they would have either privileged, subjected, enslaved, incarcerated, sterilized, or killed everyone on Earth. That was their plan. And it is only through the grace of God and the members of that greatest generation who took up arms and stopped it from happening. And so as we look at this exhibit on the courage to remember, we should also take it to heart and the courage to resist. That is, we need to take upon ourselves the courage to stand up and resist any attempt to return to such a murderous policy. So with that, I thank you very much, and I welcome you to this exhibit.
We're really honored now to have one of the survivors with us today who is going to say a few words. Again, nothing tells us more about the Holocaust than to hear from the people who went through it and tell us their stories. These things remain with us far into the future, and even after the historians have written their books, their words continue to ring out. So, Gerda?
It's sometimes hard to talk, but in the words, to quote Sir Winston Churchill, Holocaust was the greatest crime ever committed in the history of humanity. That was Winston Churchill in 1945. It was such an overwhelming crime that those who escaped death by surviving camps and by living as Christians and hiding, they themselves couldn't always repeat their own story and believe that this happened. And yet today, we're having more genocides and hate, and remembering and trying for history not to repeat is the most important thing. I have been speaking in schools for over 40 years to young people, trying to tell them that we have to treat each other the way we want to be treated, not to look at color or religion or the size of a person, but to look at their heart. There are good people and bad people in every group. And hopefully the good ones will prevail eventually. I'm very optimistic. This exhibit that's being shown here is it shows the fear people had, the fear that Nazis created by killing people on the spot just so others would follow their orders. And I've seen those pictures over and over and over again. But what I would like to do at this moment is to give a little, what shall I say, a little, can't think of the word. I want to talk about Cal State University, Long Beach. It's the first university that has started teaching and having workshops and teaching Holocaust to teachers. And from starting last year, we are having a workshop. We're going to have workshop every year in August or July, sometime during school vacation, for teachers, lasting a week. At that time, thanks to Dr. Bluting and Dr. Dave Newman, they're both energetic people who ran this program, and it's most worthwhile. And unless we want to teach children Holocaust, which we are supposed to in schools, unless the teacher knows what she or he are talking about, it won't go nowhere. So I think this is a wonderful time to point out that we're raising money to have enough so that these workshops will continue after I'm gone, after the teachers are gone, for the new oncoming generations to know and to remember the Holocaust and other genocides. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just before we cut the ribbon opening the exhibit, I want to say one final word. In Sacramento, just outside of Sacramento this week, a dry cleaning establishment was torched after swastikas were painted on the outside of it. What's interesting is that the dry cleaning establishment was owned by a Palestinian Christian. Hate continues. It appears everywhere. It's an equal opportunity discriminator. And so let this exhibit remind us of what happened to the Jews, but that happened to others and continues to happen today. Thank you all for being here. Denny? Watch those scissors, Denny. Rabbi, I think I'm going to get you in there.
Well, you know about the issue in San Francisco by circumcision.
Gerda. I asked him to do some more.
Been around.
You need to get in there and everybody has three.
Okay, everyone with your sharp objects. On three, 1, 2, 3. Well, the exhibit is now open.